All right, good afternoon, ladies. Menopause Monday is back this week, and this week we have Dr. Tanya Beaubrun. And of course, you're known as Dr. Tanya, I gather from your website, and I watched a little bit of your, right, so we'll refer to you as Dr. Tanya. So we have Dr. Tanya Beaubrun. I'm just going to give a quick overview, a quick introduction. Sorry, let me just admit some people here. Um, just do a little quick introduction because I really want us to get in. We only have an hour, and I know there's going to be a lot for us to chit chat about. So, you are known as the MoJo MD, which is the More Joy method, which I love. A physician specializing in functional and integrated medicine, certified wellness and transformational coach. You're a motivational speaker and an author. And of course, founder of, and I hope I'm not going to butcher this, Satya,
At yes, at
Satya Center for Functional Integrative Medicine in St. Lucia. So welcome, Dr. Tanya.
thank you.
Awesome
Thank
to
you for
have you.
having me.
Absolutely. Well, let's just jump straight in with why. How come, what made you decide to go this route? I mean, you are a physician, but why did you want to take it further? Why did you want to do women's health and all of that?
I think I've always been into women's health, but a series of things really. One was me being on the other end of the stethoscope one day and looking up and realizing that nobody was looking at me. Everybody was looking at the disease process. And that's how we had all been trained. So I looked up and I thought, we're all doing the same thing that we'd been taught. And I felt invisible. And I didn't feel that I was seen or heard or just acknowledged. I wanted somebody to look at me beyond the disease process. And I kept trying to speak, but I wasn't articulating it right because at the time I didn't realize I had burnt out. So I'm telling them stuff and I'm like, no, this is not what happening. I need this and I need that. So I'm wearing hat of a patient, hat of a doctor. And they don't want me to wear the hat of doctor. I said, but you don't understand. I'm telling you what's happening. I can tell you what's happening. And I'm going to need X, Y, and Z. And it didn't work out very well because they were treating just what they were seeing, a disease process. And I kept saying, well, it looks like that now, but I'm telling you, this is what is going to happen in the next half hour or whatever. So I made the decision then that I had to take charge of my health and well-being. And two, that I would never look at a patient that way again. And I had to find a better way of beyond disease management, which is what we'd all been trained to do. And I'm a proud graduate of UE, Jamaica. So it for me, I will never knock the education I got at UE. I think it was the absolute best, and I was trained by some of the best and brightest in the Caribbean and in the world for 30 something years ago. But I still believe that conventional medicine is missing the boat when it comes to patient care and preventative care. We're great at disease management, we're great at urgent care, we save lives every minute of every day. But beyond that, the preventative aspect, the lifestyle management versus disease management, and just looking at the patient from a holistic perspective is what we're not trained to do. We're trained that there is a pill for every ill, and there is always a new pill coming out, and we're always going to be chasing after the new pill. And the person getting left behind in all of this is the patient, and in particular, female patients.
Yep.
Always,
Yep.
always.
Mhm.
So
Not
it
being
was,
heard.
we're not being heard, we're not being seen. And the statistic that really stays with me was that it wasn't until 1993 that women were allowed to be part of clinical research in the US.
Seriously?
19, yes.
Which is mind-boggling because women are not just little men.
So,
Like,
so we've been
are
treated as
complete.
little men for a long time, but it wasn't until 1993 that women were allowed to be part of clinical research. But I can't imagine that women of Afro-Caribbean origin were even included when women started. So in addition to women not being included in clinical research, it's only been 32 years now. So yes, we can get some data from that, but are we getting data that is culturally appropriate for our Caribbean people? And the other thing is that women are living longer, but they're spending more of their latter years unhealthy. So, what's the purpose? What's the point in living longer if you're either bedridden or you don't have any quality of life? So, I really want to get the conversation started where the only people who can save us is ourselves. We're the only ones who can do it. We need to advocate to be part of research, yes. But until we have the funds and we have the population and we have people that truly are interested in doing research on us, I feel our greatest weapon is to stay healthy. And that comes with lifestyle modification.
Couldn't agree with you more. And just to add to your point about self-advocating to be included and stuff like that, I come across so many women who are still taking the perspective, especially when it comes to things to do with perimenopause and menopause. Well, my mother survived it, my grandmother survived it, I will survive it. And getting the message out there that we can do more than just survive. We can actually still be beautiful and strong and vibrant and thrive at this point. And it's okay to want that. I think getting that
More
message
than
out there
okay to want it.
is
It's something that we deserve.
yes,
We deserve that.
absolutely. So I think the work that you're doing is phenomenal and even still yet groundbreaking. Like it's so important that more women like yourself are out there advocating and encouraging us to advocate as well.
It's important that we advocate for ourselves, each and every one of us, doesn't matter where you are. Speak up for yourself and get to know your body. I think it's important, which is why the MoJo method was born from my journey of getting myself well.
Okay.
I could not put my health future only in the hands of doctors and other healthcare workers. I had to get to learn what worked for me, what my body was trying to tell me, and we've not been taught in the Caribbean to pay attention to ourselves. We can tell you something is wrong with our partner, something is wrong with our children, even our parents, like something is off. But then something comes within us and we either ignoring it, afraid to look. The number of people like, so what's going on? I didn't look. I'm like, well, you need to look so you can tell me what's going on. Have you examined your breast recently? I didn't really want to touch myself. I'm like, but this is not touching yourself. This is examining a critical part of your body when it comes to disease, and especially if you have a family history. So traditionally, we're not a culture where we talk about it. So our mothers will have survived it, but how many of you will even have had the conversation with your mother about it? She's going to tell you, well, I just went through the thing and I was okay. You will get through. But to have the honest conversation, what age did you first start skipping your periods? What age did you stop your periods? Sometimes they don't even know.
Mhm.
Nobody gave them permission or nobody told them it was okay to talk about it. So now we have to take charge of the narrative for ourselves and for our children, that we are changing the narrative. It is not our mother's or grandmother's menopause. We're not getting old. We're going through what I call a sacred transition, and this is the time where we tap into the wisdom of everything we've learned. The gray hairs and the stretch marks these are warrior marks. And
Love that.
we need
No, I
tap
love
into
that
that.
concept of a sacred transition. I'll definitely hold on to that.
It is.
What
Um,
are some of the
God.
strategies that you use? What are some of the strategies that you use with your clients, especially given our Caribbean narrative of shame and secrecy, from everything to do with sex and periods all the way through to menopause? How are you? What are some of the strategies that you use with people, with women, to empower them to start to, as simple as examine your breast?
I think one of the things that I do in my space is to create a space that they feel safe and nurtured. It does not, my office does not look like a doctor's office. When you walk in, there is nothing, there's no medical anything on it. So you coming there and you're not going to think that I'm going to poke and prod you, because you're going to see all these diagrams. There's nothing there. So when you come in, this space is a haven for you to be given permission to heal yourself. And I'm just your partner. So once they feel safe enough, and I think we also have to understand that we have to walk the journey alongside our patients. Many times the doctors are talking down at them. It's what I say, you have this and you're going to take this medication, and you write the prescription and they walk out and they put it in the bottom of their bag, and you see them maybe 2 years later with the prescription still in the bottom of their bag, because nobody has asked them if they are okay with a prescription. How would you like to deal with this? I mean, there are times when I have to, it's a non-negotiable. This is too high. Just start the medication and then start the lifestyle changes. And then we can make the changes as needed with medication. But we have to get into the space where we are on the same level as our patients and we are partnering with them on their healing journey. We need to go into their lifestyle, their life experiences, how they feel about it, what's going on. Can they even afford the medication? What else is going on in their lives? Because sometimes it's not only a physical, there are emotional issues that we haven't addressed, there's spiritual issues. And when I say spiritual, I'm not talking religion. But there are other issues that we're not addressing in a regular doctor's visit. And patients are begging to be heard beyond, I don't feel well. If you take a chance to look into somebody's eyes, you will see the unspoken. And that's where we need to go so that we can truly start to heal.
I love that. I think as you talk about being seen and heard, I mean, I know for me with my practice, this is what I do as well, is there's just so much more to what's coming out of their mouth. There's so much more behind that. So I love that. But you mentioned about your MoJo method. Let's go into that because I really don't want time to yam up without us going into the meat, MoJo. What exactly is that method? What it's about? How did it come about?
It started out as what we used to call the body joy, where I wanted my patients to get body joy. And body joy was this thing where you looked well, you felt well, you were well, and you had this zhuzh. But then I realized that when you said that, everybody was just talking about the physical aspect. And then one day I was just meditating and I thought, no, what I really want is them to get more joy in all aspects of their life. So I started playing around with MoJo, which then became short. The short part was MoJo. So MoJo, a lot of people think MoJo is some other thing. For me, MoJo is the joy, the spark, the joie de vivre, the trying to just be in alignment with your truth and speak your truth and just feel good and just say, this is who I am and I totally get myself and I've accepted it. Now that is a work in progress. We never get to the point. Hi, Sancha. So it is, for instance, it does have 3 pillars: the body joy, the man joy, the soul joy. The body joy part is the physical part where you're tapping into your physical power. And that's with diet. How are you nourishing your body? What are you eating? And my thing is very simple. Avoid sugar as best you can and processed foods and dyes and all the colorings. And let's just eat one ingredient foods as much as we can. And let's not run away from our indigenous foods. You know how many people don't know chocho and yam and all of these foods, and they're like, I don't eat that. I'm like, well, you're missing out half your life because that's the food you really want to eat. But not too much of it either, because we tend to pack out our plates. And I know in Jamaica, you'll have your 3 dumpling and whatever. So we have to have that in moderation. So dumplings are my thing, I have to tell you.
Speaking my language, Doc.
Dumplings are my thing. So I have been known to fight for the last dumpling on a plate. But it is, I did fight, I have no shame in that. But if we just try to avoid the processed foods and the sugar and we ate like half our plate vegetables or salads and, lightly steamed or raw, sauteed, and a quarter with the protein and another quarter with the ground provisions and our local food, I think we'd be okay if we did that for most of our meals. But instead, a typical meal, you might get some rice and peas, a lot of rice and peas on the plate, maybe some chow mein, maybe some macaroni and cheese. And then you'll get the protein and you get a smidgen of salad just thrown on the side, maybe some coleslaw, which is mainly the mayonnaise rather than the actual vegetables. And that's the meal we will get when we buy food on the side of the road or when we. And I'm trying to change that, because if we continue eating like that, that's why we have high levels of insulin resistance and metabolic syndrome, because we're very processed carb heavy. Then you have, I mean, I would laugh because all I'm thinking now is if I was in Jamaica, I'd probably want a patty and a cocoa bread. That is carb overload.
Yeah.
But that is carb overload. So I wouldn't have that every day. But we have to sort of do an 80-20 where 80% of our meals are healthy. The 20% we can have the rest out.
Doc, one of the things I struggle with, because we could literally swap places, and I talk the same things that you're talking to people about managing this and managing that and eating natural and one food, one ingredient food. Same, I'm 100% aligned with you. But when somebody says to you, but Lord, I just wanted something a little nice. I just want something nice. And
I
why
get you.
can't I have a sweetie? And why can't, what do you say to those people? Because sometimes I get so stuck in convincing people that this is really what we need to do, because what we eat is our building blocks of ourselves.
But 80%, if we eat 80% and we have 20% of the sweeties, we're just not going to have too much of it all the time. So I would tell you that I'm listening to you and I'm craving a plantain tart. Like, I would have a plantain tart, but it's not something that I would have all the time.
Right.
But the fact is, our pastries and our cakes and our foods taste good as well. So you then want to say, okay, what are we? Yes. So what are we going to be doing here? So can we have maybe a small amount, a small piece of dessert instead, and have it 3 times a week instead of every day?
Yeah. Yeah.
The other thing is, if we crowd out our diets by eating healthy foods, we're less, especially eating adequate amounts of protein, we're less likely to have the cravings for the sweets and the pastries and so. But there are times, in my opinion, where there is a need for something sweet to just take you through the day. It's that end of the day where you've had a rough day and all you wish is just that little piece of tart or something. I would have half.
Okay.
Instead of the whole one, I would have half.
Okay.
And if you drink adequate amounts of water as well, sometimes when you think you're craving sweet or salt, you're actually thirsty. So the trick is half your body weight in pounds is the number of ounces of water you should be drinking minimum. And a lot of us in the Caribbean are not drinking enough water. So we need to focus on that. The other thing is exercise. Are we making time for consistent exercise, which is a mix of cardio and aerobic, but also weight training? Many women are afraid to weight train because they think they're going to look like bodybuilders. You're not. Unless you train to become a bodybuilder, you won't. So don't be afraid to lift heavy and lift often. Because building muscle, especially after the age of 30, when we lose rapidly our muscle mass, we need to keep building it back. And that is by doing weight training, either using weights, dumbbells, barbells, or your body weight. And since COVID, all of that is available very easily online. And a lot of it is free. You just Google what you're looking for and it comes up on YouTube and you can get it free of charge. And the other part of the body joy pillar is your environment. And I talk about toxins. What are you putting on your body? So what you put in your body is important, but what are you putting on your body? all these lovely, sweet smelling lotions and potions, and the ones that have, the shimmer and stuff, and the ones that you can smell you from about round the corner. The fact that you can smell it means that whatever fragrances there is being absorbed into your body, and that in itself could be a problem. So it is important that we are looking at what we're putting on our makeup, what we're putting on our skin, what are we showering with, what are we brushing our teeth with. All of these areas, our skin, our lungs, and what we put in our mouths, are potential sources of toxins. So it's important that we look at all of the things that we're putting on our bodies, in addition to paying attention to how we're nourishing our bodies from the inside out. And there's a part that we don't talk about, is about the external environment. We may be exposed to pollutants in the air, we may be exposed to mold, but what about the clutter? When you're in a messy area and you just can't think, we must not neglect that aspect of detoxifying our environment. So a cluttered environment can cause a cluttered mind, which prevents you from really optimizing your well-being. And in women, things like the plastics, the BPA plastics, and when we microwave food in our plastic containers, we get these products that are absorbed into the food. Some of these are called xenoestrogens, and these estrogens will actually play with the hormones in our bodies. So it's important that we start to look at things. It's better to use glass to carry your food in. Even things like the paper cashier, when we go to the supermarket and they give us the slips, our receipt, the shiny things, the things that make it slippery, are absorbed into our skin, and these affect our hormone levels. This is something that people are not aware of, but you have to be very careful. So when I go to the supermarket, I always ask them, just throw it in the bag for me. I never touch it. They give it to me, I'm like, no, you can throw it, just put it in the grocery bag. When I go home, I'll just take it through the side like that and toss it up.
I'd never known that. I would never have known that.
Whatever is causing it to be slippery, that substance has a large amount of toxicity, and it's really going to affect the estrogens. This has a xenoestrogenic effect. So it makes your body think that you have more estrogens when it's actually not so.
Oh my God.
Yeah. So these are the things that we want to make people aware of, because if we can do these things and keep our health span even better, then we're doing well. So it's not just about lifespan, it's about health span. Can we stay healthier for longer? And it's all these little things that add up every day. The choices we make every day. What are we going to put on our plate? Are we going to make sure we drink enough water? Are we going to make sure that what do we put on our skin? I tell people good old coconut oil is the best thing. And if you want to have a scent, then use an essential oil on it. Nothing wrong with a little perfume and makeup, but just be aware of how often you put it on and what's in them. Then when you go to the second pillar, which is mind joy, this is about tapping into our passion. And that's about things like sleep and stress management and self-worth. So a lot of us are not sleeping optimally. Everybody's, I can survive on 5 hours sleep. And I'm like, no, you can't. You'll die. If you keep doing it, you will not survive. So 7 to 9 hours of deep restorative sleep is going to really prolong your life. But we have to prioritize it, and we have to make sure that we start doing the things that will allow our bodies to go to sleep at a reasonable hour. And that actually starts in the morning when you get up. So getting up in the morning and exposing within the first 15 minutes your eyes to bright light, which is great for us in the Caribbean. You open a window and it's right there. Exposing your eyes to the bright light will actually help you start your circadian rhythm, so that it will tell it, okay, it's time to wake up. And at a certain time when the sun goes down, you will start to produce melatonin, hopefully, if you can stay dark and away from the blue light from our screens and so the preparation for a good night's sleep starts the morning you wake up. Getting bright light, eating properly throughout your day, making sure your blood sugar levels are stable. But by the time the sun is setting, you want there's the water. You want to be able to tell your body that it's time to get ready for bed, and that is by staying away from the blue light, our TVs and iPads and all of that. And I'm guilty of that because I like to read, and it's on my iPad, and that's the easiest way. But by an hour before bed, you want to take that off. Dim your lights, make sure that you've had a shower. Some people, I tell them, if you're having night sweats, try socks and nothing else to go to bed and see if that helps.
Socks?
Socks. Yes, socks, just socks. Sleep with only socks and see how that helps, because you keep your foot temperature warm, it regulates the rest of you, so it may minimize the night sweats. It may. You might have a deeper sleep. But having a bedtime routine, you put lotion on your hands and your feet, and you put your socks, and then you can have maybe oils or whatever, essential oils or deep breathing or something. I always tell people, when you go into bed, list 5 things you're grateful for, 5 great things that happen in your day, even if it's in your mind. Even if you don't want to get up and write it, just list it in your mind. Fall asleep with this attitude of gratitude. So hopefully you'll not be going to sleep with the news in your mind. And I know if I listen to the news, I'm going to dream the entire newsreel that night. Stress management, we're all stressed. All of us are stressed. I don't care what anybody tells me. Those who are not stressed, if they can come and tell me the secret, I'll be happy. But we're all stressed in some form or fashion, and we need to acknowledge that. That's the first part of stress management, acknowledging that we are stressed. And 2, deciding what we're going to do. Are there things that are causing us stress that we can walk away from and ditch? Are there other things that we can delegate to other people? And then the things that we can't, how do we change our attitude towards it? And that's the important thing. How are we changing our attitude towards what we are experiencing? So we have these little tools, box breathing and other things like that we can use to do easy stress management. Box breathing, where you breathe in for 4, hold the in breath for 4, breathe out slowly for 4, and hold that for 4. You can do that anywhere. You can do the butterfly, where you link your thumbs like this, and then you do something like that. And that is really very relaxing. It soothes you, or you can just rub your hands like this. So all of these are tools that you can do to self-soothe. And you don't have to do it in front of people. The box breathing you can do right here, right now. Nobody would know you're doing it. You're going to a meeting and it's going to be stressful, or you're nervous. You do 2 or 3 rounds of box breathing. Before you go into a confrontation with somebody, instead of reacting, box breathe, and you'll find that you're going to be more responsive and less likely for a more aggressive confrontation. And then the last part of the MoJo is self-worth, where a lot of us women, especially midlife, are questioning who we are, we've had dreams that somehow were shelved, and you're going to ask yourself, what now? Who am I? You look into the mirror, you don't know who you are anymore. There is this person who has probably gained 15, 20 pounds more than they would like. They're tired all the time. They're anxious. They just don't recognize anything about themselves. And they don't even want to look in the mirror. And they just think they're just not worthy anymore. And one of the things that menopause gives, when you tell certain people or certain patients, they say, oh, I'm getting old. Oh my God, I'm getting old. And I'm like, well, we're all getting old every minute of every day, but it's the mindset that's important. And this menopause is not the end for us. It's actually the beginning of the most powerful time in our lives. But all the things that we're talking about, from the body joy and the mind joy, starts as soon as you can do it, from your 20s. You start making these lifestyle changes, it becomes a habit for you. By the time you get to these perimenopause and stuff, you're so in tune with your body, you know what your body likes, you know what foods work. You'll be able to tell me, listen, I used to be able to eat that and that's not working anymore, I don't want it, or, you know. So you need to know your body. Ain't nothing wrong with touching your body and knowing how your breasts feel and knowing what works for you and speaking up. And in order to do that, you need to know your worth. And that means knowing what your values are. And many of us are not taught to do these values exercise, or what do you stand for? They don't even know, because we're being bombarded with social media, and our standards are now being fake book and Insta gratitudeized. That's how I call it. It's fake book and it's Insta gratitude. That's all we're getting. Filters, filters, filters. We're only seeing what people want us to see. So we believe everybody else is having the most fantastically perfect life. They're looking good despite the filters. You look at them and like, that's a filter. Doesn't even look like you. But we see that, you know, but on the other hand, like, why can't I look like that? My filter didn't look like that either. So you're now comparing filters. You're now comparing two fake things. And I think it's time we got a reality check and realize that we are not supposed to just survive this time. We're supposed to thrive throughout every minute of our lives, every stage, from childhood to puberty to childbearing and beyond. Why aren't we thriving more? Why are so many, especially women, just existing and living lives that are not in alignment with their values? And that, for me, is the saddest thing I'm seeing now. A lot of women are burning out. Don't even realize they're burning out. We're living in accordance with what society tells us they expect of us, and we don't even know what's expected of ourselves. And I have lived that. I have sat in my office for years writing prescription. Like, every time I write a prescription, like, this is right, this is not right, this is not right. But I was afraid to step out and say, okay, I'm going to go and study functional and integrative medicine. And when I finally said it, and I had colleagues say, what's this thing you're going to study now? Why don't you go and do a proper specialty? I'll never forget that one. And I just looked at him and I thought, dude, you just don't get it, but it's okay. And when I came back, and he says, but look at you, you're back. And I'm thinking to myself, yeah, I went and do something that was not a proper specialty. So I hope you're happy now. You know, it was just, it took a lot to get out there and, one, speak about it and start to tell people it's okay to say you're not okay. And it's okay to say, I want more. Because I
Dr.
believe
Tanya,
patients
thank
deserve
you
more.
for that. Thank you for going and doing that specialty that is non-specialty. Thank you, because that we are too often we are the recipients of diagnose and prescribe
Yeah.
without addressing the whole person and the root cause.
No.
So
And they don't
thank you.
understand. They don't
Thank you.
understand. And patients are aware of this. Patients want more. And we need to start to meet them where they are. They're going to take the supplements, and they're going to take the herbal things, and they're going to take the bush. But if we are open to it, then we can better treat them. Because a number of patients who are diabetic are taking the medication as well as the bush. And I'm like, well, okay, this one is going to react to that. He says, oh, you know that? I'm like, so let's not take this bush, let's take this. Okay, but take this one and take it in a small amount. Because you have to have the dialogue with them, because if not, you're just going to miss the boat.
Mhm.
It's important that we dialogue with patients. And the third pillar, which is the soldier, which is my favorite, is about nurturing our connections. It's about nurturing connections with something greater than ourselves. I call it God. People call it Jah, Buddha, Allah. It's nature for some others. It's whatever it is, the belief system that something is guiding our lives that's higher, greater than ourselves, like higher power. Because I don't think I could do this work without knowing that something is guiding me, not this work. So I believe that with all my heart and soul, something else is guiding me. Sometimes I have to question it. Sometimes you get a diagnosis and you're like, why? Like, really? But it is what it is. The second part is connections with our loved ones. We're so busy doing that we do not have the time to spend being and being fully present with our loved ones until somebody dies. And I see that all the time. Somebody close to you dies, and all of a sudden, everybody matters. Everybody's mattering so much, and you're hugging and you're loving, and then life gets in the way, and then you cast aside and you keep going again. And now, as we get older, I'm attending more funerals, way more funerals. My mom is telling me that all her friends are dying. Like now, when I hear somebody die, I just stay silent. And I'm like, she's going to call me in about 24 hours and tell me another friend has died, and she's in her 80s. What do you do? I don't even know how to comfort her anymore. Like, the reality is, you're right. A lot of your friends are dying. But this is the time, in my opinion, where whoever is left, instead of gathering only at funerals, make the opportunity in between them to gather for other things. And I keep telling her, why don't you have a tea party? Invite your friends to tea. She says, there are not many left. I say, whoever is left, let them come. Just do something where you see each other that's in a nicer situation other than a funeral. But we have to start to make the time to truly connect and see out the people in our lives, our family, our friends. I mean, we're so busy that you don't even see your friends. I know there are times where every weekend I would see my friends. Now I don't do it. And I told my husband this weekend that I'm lonely. And he says, what do you mean? I'm like, I miss my friends. They're traveling. We are different stages. We are emptiness now. I'm a mom, yes, but I'm not a mommy. So I want to do something else. Like, I need to find a hobby. I need to get and he's looking at me like, but you work so much. I'm like, yeah, but I need to find a hobby. I'm going to look for a sport to play. And he busts out laughing. He says, you're going to take up a sport on top of everything else. And I'm just looking for something different. It's just a matter of connecting. And then the most important connection with ourselves that so many of us are losing. How are we feeling? Do you ask somebody how you feel? I'm fine. But you know that that's just the standard answer. They haven't even checked in. They don't even know how to check in. And many times a patient sits and I say, so tell me what you think is wrong. And they look at me like, I came to you to find out why you're asking me that. I'm like, I'm just curious. Where do you think your problem lies? What part of you should we start to look at first? And once they start to get that, you'd be surprised at the wisdom that comes from within, that they're actually able to tune in and say, well, I think it might be that, or I think because I've eaten this. Like, there you go. Your body knows. You just need to listen to it. But we have this thing where we listen to the outside forces more than the inner wisdom. And that's scary. Because if we keep listening to the outside voices, then we don't know who we are anymore. Certainly don't know who we are as a people of Caribbean origin. And we're taking on the personas of everybody else. And we're losing our beautiful Caribbeanness. And that's sad. And the most important healing tool in all of this self-awareness is self-forgiveness. Forgiving ourselves. There were before I left, and I left 10 years ago to go to study the functional medicine, and I had a lot of forgiving to do, because once I started learning, I started thinking of all the patients who I could have treated better. And like, oh, so that's what that patient had. I wish I had known. And I had to forgive myself for that, because I did the best I could then, but now I had the information and I could help others. But there was a lot of regret. Like, I should have gone soon. I could have helped this person, or I could have done that. But nothing before it's time. So I had to work on that self-forgiveness a lot. I mean, I would learn something and I'm like, oh gosh, I wish I had done that before. I would have helped this patient. But now I have it. So now I can do that. And now I can share this work and I can speak about it. So this is the MoJo method. It's my passion. It is something that brings me incredible joy most of the time. And I'm so happy to be able to share that. And most of this, everybody knows.
Mhm.
Everybody knows it. It's putting it together and actually committing to doing it. It's a choice we make that we're going to be well, and that our health span is more important than our lifespan. Well, it's as important, but even more important. So if you want to live longer, I would like you to live longer, but also healthier and happier. That's all I'm asking everybody to do. Get yourself educated. I've given you some information there. You can read about it. You can even go to Dr. TikTok. Because there are many Dr. TikToks out there, and they're listening to all the doctors on TikTok. The majority of the information you need to know are your sources, but you can get some healthy tips from that. But the choice is yours. What are
Yeah.
you going to do at this point to live healthier? And especially at midlife, are you choosing to fall into the narrative that this is the end and menopause is a disease process that has to be managed and everybody has to be given HRT and everybody? And I'm not knocking HRT. I've been on it for 14 years. I prescribe it, but it has to be an individual choice for each person. Is this person a candidate? Does this person want it? I prescribed it to people and they came back and said I didn't want it. I was scared about it. I'm still scared. I'm not happy. I'm coming off it. It's a choice. And then you can come back and start it again. But how are we going to change the narrative that midlife for men and women is a powerful time? And we must address the women's wellness with men's wellness at the same time. Because we cannot address a couple with the woman going through her midlife and not realize the man is also going through it. And then we fix his wife or his partner, and she starts feeling good and raring to go, and we've left him behind. And he's like, now, okay, how do I deal with this young chick that's all of a sudden wanting me all the time? And I have low T and I don't want to see her, and I can't perform and I'm scared all the time. We're not addressing that. We have to address men's health with women's health.
Wow. This is good stuff. What I get out of this is as we talk about choices, but it's a multi-pronged approach. And this is what I said, even this morning on my social media was, for men and women, we all have different choices that we can make, but they're options. But you have to want it. You want to have to be well enough to go and have these conversations. And Natalie and I have been doing this for over a year now and saying, if you go to your doctor and they're not giving you the answer that you're looking for, you keep going. You keep
Sure.
talking. I call it shopping, but maybe that's not the right word. But there's so many people out there who are in the same position,
Mhm.
and there are answers out there, but you have to want it.
And I think we also have to empower our patients to get it and not think that one doctor told you something, so that's your story. And I keep saying you're more than a diagnosis. You're more than menopause, you're more than a chronic diagnosis, you're more than a prescription. So we need to see you and find out what brought you to this point. I could have fat diabetic patients, and each of them came into this elevated blood sugar through a different way. So I need to find out what's going on. Yes, I may need to prescribe medication, but I still need to look beyond that, because if we don't look beyond, then we haven't changed anything for them.
Mhm.
And the blood sugars will probably get higher and higher, and we just have to increase the medication. So I believe that educating the patients is important, educating our community, very, very vital. Empowering them is important too. But one thing that we don't do enough of as healthcare workers is encourage them, and we actually walk the path with them, where they know that there's somebody there advocating for them, there's somebody there who's championing them, there's somebody there. I mean, I get the most excited when the numbers drop and I see they've done the work and the cholesterol levels up, or the blood sugar is back to normal. And listen, they walking in there and I'm like excited. I'm like, guess what? And they're like, what happened? Why did you call me? I said, I have great news for you. Sometimes I can't even wait. Sometimes I pick up the phone on an afternoon, it's late. I'm like, I know you're coming to see me next week, but I had to tell you, guess what your blood sugar is today? And they're like, what? And when I tell them, they said, really? I said, yeah, whatever you're doing is working. That's where we champion our patients, and that's where we walk the journey with them and encourage them to do it. Because if you don't get that, then you're kind of like, oh, I'm doing this and I'm eating clean 80% of the time and I can't have the patty and cocoa bread because Dr. Beaubrun told me no. I'm like, yes, you can, just have half.
Yeah.
Just have half. You can have the pan and it's fine, just don't put all the sauce and stuff on it. But it's fine. I eat it. They'll see me on the side of the road eating it. If I'm in Jamaica now, trust me, I'll be in the patty shop right now.
Well, you've humanized
It's
it.
been a while. It's been a while. So you
You
understand that
clearly
listening
are
to
need
you
a
all,
patty. You need a patty, Tanya.
I can get a patty here. I can't get the cocoa bread.
Oh
They sell
dear.
no cocoa bread. No plantain tarts either. I have to beg people to bring plantain tarts for me. And
Now
like,
we know
why?
what your vice is.
And I just need one. I can go to Jamaica. I just need one. Once I have the plantain, I'm good. I don't need it every day. I just need one. And I might eat half now and half tomorrow, but I'm good. But the fact is, there are things that, so this weekend, I really felt for cheesecake. So I made myself a cashew cheesecake. And it really tasted good. I'm like, whoa, I got a viable alternative. So I was happy. So I'm going to be slicing it and put it in the freezer and taking a small piece all the time. But I wasn't going to deprive myself. So I had to find something, a healthy version of the things that I like. And I'm a sweet person. I like desserts. So I found the ones that I like that I can make healthy, that I can make in a batch and just take a piece when I feel for it. But we can do these things and it's available.
There are options.
There are so many options.
I love the fact that what you do is you humanize the whole process of wellness. You know, a lot of, as you said, you started off by saying a lot of women don't want, and men, they don't want to go to their doctors because they don't want to hear or be told, I have to take this and I have to take that, and these levels are, and that will, because I mean, Natalie and I can say that so many women have not entered the whole menopause arena for that reason, is that they're scared. They don't want to be told they have to go on HRT because, you know, we know that so much is on social media about the goods and the bad about social media, but humanizing this area of your life where things are changing, your life is changing, your body is changing, your mind is changing.
Yeah.
How do you embrace that to the fullest? All being human. Yes, you love your sweets. Yes, you want to cheat. Yes, you want to do all of those things and making it okay. But, you know,
It's okay to want
absolutely.
listen, somebody hearing me now and wants to have a patty and cocoa bread, go for it, but you just don't have it every day. You don't have it every day. But I am not, if I visited Jamaica now, there's no way I would go to Jamaica and not have that.
Yeah.
Ain't no
And
way I
there's
would.
little things that we do, like in my home. So we found little recipes where we can make, very low sugar cookies, and we make them in the air fryer. So we make only four. So it's you're not making 24 and have to hold back. We only make four, so everybody gets one cookie, and one cookie is okay.
It's fine.
Yeah.
So I would tell people after work, I always want something sweet. I come home, I want a cup of tea and I want something. So what I've done, so I have my cashew cheesecake, I'll have a small piece. I'm not going to have a massive amount because I don't, so my taste buds have changed. I can't take too much sugar. But I'm not going to say I'm not going to have it because I will spend the next 2 hours craving it. So I will have something that will satisfy what I want. And I'm also aware that the reason I want it is not because I need something sweet. It's my sense of saying, okay, you're home now, the day is done, you've had a rough day, the job you do is hard sometimes, and you just want something to make you feel good. And sitting down with a cup of tea and a small piece of cake or whatever makes me feel good. So I no longer deprive myself. I may have a gluten-free, like a homemade cassava biscuit with a little bit of fruit juice sweetened jam. It
Mhm.
gives me crunch, gives me a little sweetness, and I'm good. I don't need like five of them.
And
I
it sounds
find
like you're being mindful with it because
Yeah.
very often we're doing that while we're watching TV. But you sound like you're creating an
I'm
experience.
trying to be as mindful. There are times when the bag of chips come out and
Oh, we've all been there.
All been there. I think I
happens
was
a
there
little too
last night.
often. But my justification is that it's the corn chips fried in beef tallow, and I'm thinking to myself, girl, you can fool yourself if you want, but you can't have the whole bag of chips. So I will take five. I'm like, okay, what's the thing? And then I've been that wasn't a whole chip.
Hmm.
Sometimes a chip break. I'm like, that's not a serving, so I'll take another piece just to justify it. But it is what it is.
Yeah.
And there are
Dr.
days
Tanya,
when I will look in the mirror and I
Oh, Lord.
any new supplement out there that I've gone to conferences, I'm usually one. Give me the sample, I try it first and see.
what's about the perimenopausal, menopausal woman who your go home is a cup of tea and something sweet? What about the woman who her go home is a glass of wine or a rum and coke or as a Caribbean culturally, we tend to celebrate a lot with alcohol, our carnivals and our dinner parties and everything. But we know that the menopausal, perimenopausal woman's body just does not tolerate alcohol like it used to. What do you tell that woman?
Listen to your body because the new studies are showing that alcohol in women, especially in perimenopause, they actually say no alcohol. Now we gotta tell that to our Caribbean population. They're just gonna look at me on a side with a side eye and tell me, yeah, right. But so many of my older patients or midlife are telling me that they can't tolerate the alcohol like before. So I'm like, well, cool, just listen to your body. If instead of 4 glasses you can only tolerate one or two, then you can either have others if you really want, or you just have your two and you or one and you just nurse it throughout. But listen to your body, and you're right, our culture is very heavily, you must have alcohol to party. Now I don't drink, I haven't drank yet. Some people need alcohol. Some people need alcohol to make them feel good.
Nick, Nikki is having a storm issue at
Ah,
where she is, so we're both having internet and power issues for some reason. The wonders of the Caribbean.
Sorry about that, ladies.
be deterrent as well. You don't want something that's really affecting your health in a bad way.
Right.
I
Right.
tell people I love to exercise because exercise gets my mind into a different zone.
Mm-hmm.
The MoJo method came while I was on a treadmill. Um, so if that's what works for you, then by all means do it. But try and find out, try and be more mindful about what these things, what you're doing. So I love
Mm-hmm.
the idea of your mocktail with the magnesium and theanine. That's just gonna, your whole family must be happy because everybody's chill.
Yeah. Yeah.
I would pass it on to every single person in my house. Like, have some, have that. That's great for you. But it is important that we are educating ourselves on healthy ways of living and
Mm-hmm.
also tailoring it for our cultural, our socio-economic and cultural development where we are. We can't take everything from North America and put it. For instance, the patches. The patches did not work for us very well. They kept
Poor Nikki. She's in and out.
And I'm the
Dr.
one
Tanya,
recording it. We might have to do
I,
it. We might have to do a part two just to end this because I'm recording it.
Dr. Tanya, this has been lovely. Nikki, are you with us?
I am here. Can you hear me?
Yes,
Yes.
okay.
Yes. Sorry about that,
And then
Dr. Tanya. Appreciate your
that's okay,
patience.
no
I'm
problem.
gonna hand back over to you, Nikki, to do the wrap up.
Absolutely. But thank you so much. And this more joy method is of course, all the information is on your website and of course your Instagram page if anybody wants to get in touch with you. And in the email, replay email, I'll pop all of those links in there as well so
And
that
I'm going to
people
give
can.
them I don't know if I told you I have this quiz, the body story quiz, because I realized that everybody has a different way of manifesting a disease imbalance. So some people may do physically, some people might be emotionally, somebody might be spiritually, where they just feel isolated and disconnected. So it's a short quiz that will tell you where your imbalance is, whether it's a body joy imbalance, mind joy, or soul joy imbalance. And then once you get that imbalance, you then have little tips and tools that you can use. It's good when you know what your body story is. So some people might, oh, I'm a physical, that's how my body manifests imbalance. So it's good for you to know that.
Okay.
Another might, they might just whatever, and I'm like, okay, so you're a mind joy imbalance.
I saw that on your website, so I would make a note of that in the email that it's in there that you can take that quiz, I think, from your website.
I can always send.
Yeah, you
I think
can
I have a.
send,
I can send
yeah,
you the.
sure. Send me the link and then I will email it out with a replay email. Okay. Have I gone again? Not sure if I've gone again.
And your is beautiful. Your office is beautiful from what I can see behind you. And thank you so much for the work that you're doing. Women around the world, we need you. We need more of you. So
Thanks for having me.
thanks.
Thank you so much.
We'll keep in touch.
All right. Bye bye.
Alrighty. Bye
Bye
bye.
now.